Don't do that. But I think the most important thing is starts with mental health, and then after that you can focus on your physical health and everything else.
Yeah, and I actually also went back to reading. I read reading like business related books and self-development, so like coaching and how to start a business or like business idea and like the calling. But it's
Can you
definitely
send me some of those books?
yeah. And you
I love them like
you as well. Yeah. See guys, how we're friends. We know each other really well. But no, for real, so you are so right. Welcome to the Purposeful Fitness with Coach Ola, where I dive in deeper into holistic health and fitness topics that would help you stay inspired, motivated, and dedicated to living a purposeful, fit life while pursuing for the Akhirah. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode number 56 with Coach Ola. I am very excited to have you here today to welcome our guest, Jasmine, known as Yaz. She is someone that I've known for 10 years, so I'm very excited to have her on my show to talk about on how to be resilient during COVID and the importance of having a strong support system and reconnecting with our friends, families, and our community. So in this episode, we talked about being resilient and keeping up with our fitness journey and the importance of watching what we're eating. Without further ado, I would like for you to welcome Jasmine. Hey, welcome to the podcast show and this episode, Yaz Fit. Jasmine, how are you today?
I'm good, Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. So for everyone who's listening,
for having me.
Oh, you are very welcome. So for everyone who's listening, she and I have known each other for like over 10 years. So this is going to be a very fun conversation, friends to friends, and how we both, where we are now. Yeah. So Jasmine, please tell us about yourself, what you currently do, and how did we meet?
Okay. So, well, first of all, we met in MSA. This was before we wore hijab, before Yaz Fit PT, before Be Fit for Akhirah. So this is ages ago. This is probably about, I think 2008.
Yeah, like a decade ago.
Yeah, literally over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And we were the only, I think, non-hijabis in MSA. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We both got into fitness around the same, well, I mean, we were both into fitness, I think, already, but we got into weightlifting around the same time, just I think a few months apart. We wore hijab around a few months apart. The funny thing is, I think I got into weightlifting before you, and like heavy, like really into weightlifting, because I started lifting when I was about 13, 14. But in terms of like just like hardcore, as part of my daily routine, that was around 18, when I was 18. And you wore hijab literally a few months before I wore it. And we had this whole plan, guys. Okay, this whole plan.
It was a few days. I remember, like, I wore on Friday. Yeah, on Friday, and then you did it, I think, on Wednesday.
I thought it was a week.
Yeah,
okay.
Like, see, I don't know, Friday.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, first of all, we had this whole plan. So we both had family members that really, weren't, I guess, didn't want us to wear hijab. And so we're like, we had this whole plan. We're going to try it out over the summer. And I think we had I was going to, go to university or transfer universities to Virginia Tech, and you were going to go to George Mason. We had this whole plan figured out. And then Ola just walks up with the hijab on. I'm like, bro, I thought we were going to wait a little bit, test it out together. And so I'm not going to lie, I was just really motivated. And I was like, you know what, I don't want to wait. And I wore it a few days after you, then a week after you. And yeah, we got into fitness around the same time, or I keep saying fitness, but I don't know, for me it's like weightlifting is like really what I consider fitness now. And like that's what changed my life. And so I remember the first day I wore hijab, I told you, I was like, we're gonna meet at the gym, and I just wore my mom's white two-piece Syrian hijab. And I go there, and do you remember Mike, Big Mike?
Yep.
He was on the Stairmaster, and I was like, hey, and he was like, for like literally a solid 5 minutes, didn't say a word. I was like, all right, have a good, good workout. And he was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. So I go up the stairs, and I see you both wearing our white Syrian hijabs, and we're on the treadmill. Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, we forgot to introduce each other in Arabic. But yeah, we both speak Arabic too, so that has been like, you were the first Arab friend that I had like back in college. So I was like, wow, there are Arabs in this area. This is so exciting. To Syrians. Yeah, everyone. So that's why having like the right friends is really important. And like Jasmine was always the one who, because we had literally the same path of life. It's so interesting. And then when she and I immigrated to different universities, and I went through the anxiety, depression, like she was able to like, okay, get back into it, come back to it, come back to it. And so I want to tell the audience, like you and I we did our first 5K at George Mason.
Oh,
Remember?
right.
And
Yeah.
that helped us like with both of our own struggles, overcome like lots of, bad habits, because we were like young and dumb back in the day. Which I'm proud about because you gotta enjoy life. Yeah, so fitness was our way of finding ourselves with us Pantana, with our faith, and then
Hmm.
bringing it back to the mental health aspect and spirituality. And that's what I want to tell the audience, like how you can connect it together. So now she enjoys workouts with dumbbells, weightlifting, but then I kind of like lost that joy. And now my new joy is not just the water itself, but outdoor workouts, resistance bands. And so Jasmine, tell me, like, what are your favorite workouts that you have been doing so far lately? Like exercises, equipment?
So, yeah, so my favorite workouts recently honestly have been just trying different things and really kind of getting crazy, still safe, but just kind of crazy with it, trying things that I normally wouldn't try. And that started before, quarantine and all of that. I got injured last year, several injuries back to back, none of which had to do with working out, just so that everyone knows. But the first, for 2 years actually, I was injured. So the first one, I injured my foot and it just progressively got worse. And then I injured both of my wrists, and then I sprained my ankle, and it was just a couple of things. And so then it took me a while to get back, and I didn't even know how to get back to be 100%. Even though like I'm a trainer, I did athletic therapy for 8 months for one thing and 3-4 months for another thing. So getting back into it, I was just like, okay, I kind of felt like I was starting from scratch because I was on bed rest for over a year. And I just remember I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come back in. I just wanted to feel like I was getting a workout in, and you know with my, at the time, situation, I wasn't really able to do much. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try different things. So I grabbed a couple of dumbbells and I'm like, I'm gonna just do some really weird combinations and see if I can work out my full body, but still have it fun, still make it feel like a workout without, you know, carrying heavy weight, because at the time I couldn't, my wrists were still injured. So I just started some really, random weird things. And then under quarantine, I actually used my husband as a resistance, like like cables, and we were trying all these different things. I did almost get injured once a little bit, but I used him as like the cable rows, and I was like pulling him and having him, kind of pull back. It was a lot of fun. So I think just trying different things.
It's actually a very good segue and topic to talk about, because you actually, like, I feel like you're my expert now, because you and I I've known you for a long time, and excuse me, even at college you've had injuries to like doing vision tech, and that was like testing your limits, right? Like you were able to talk
Mhm.
about it. So tell the audience how resilient were you, and how were you able to come back into fitness after injuries, and what did that teach you about fitness?
The first thing it taught me in general is patience and resilience, and not giving up, and it's all up to you. So you have to be very, very, very persistent, and honestly just believe that you'll get back to it. At one point, I did fall into depression. This was two years ago, or no, it was last year. And that was, I mean, it was really hard because it was, one injury after another. And when I was, at tech, I had, it wasn't just an injury, but it was also several illnesses back to back. And like I had mono 3 times. And the doctor was like, how on earth you get mono 3 times? I'm like, dude, like, I don't know. I touch handles, like I'm out all the time. So I don't know if I like, grabbed a knob and then like rubbed my eye or something. And it was really testing, because it was like one semester I'm like 100%, and I'm running outside and going to the gym every day, every morning. I would go to the gym every single morning. I was up at 4:30, go to the gym by 5, and all of a sudden next semester, I have mono. I'm in the house pretty much 24/7, just going out for class and coming back. So it wasn't easy, but I think if you have to be persistent. So especially when you're injured, because illness is one thing, you kind of, you know, you have to really listen to your body. I mean, you have to deal with injuries, but with illness, it's like you really don't have that much control in terms of how you feel. You have to make sure, especially if it's like something in your chest or in your stomach, you have to make sure that you're feeling well. If it's just like nasal, then usually you're fine. But with injuries, there's a recovery process. So first of all, I would say go for athletic therapy if you can. Second of all, whatever exercises you're supposed to do, especially if you're going to an athletic therapist or physical therapist, do them every day, like multiple times a day. At the first injury, I didn't do that. The first time I injured my foot, I didn't do that. I didn't do my recovery exercises every day. I was doing them like every other day, maybe, 2, 3, 4 times a week. And I was like, man, I'm not seeing that much recovery. And I was going to, physical therapy. And I'm like, I'm not really seeing, that much of a difference. And then I started doing athletic therapy and I started seeing a little bit more of a difference, but I still wasn't doing my recovery on a regular basis. So when I sprained my ankle, or when I sprained my wrist, both of my wrists, and then my ankle, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna not walk again. Like that was the worst, not being able to walk, because you were literally in bed. I would literally order food when my husband was out because I couldn't, cook or make meals. So I was just like order food, gained like 30 plus pounds. I'm like, heck no, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm ready to go back to the gym. And because after the first foot injury, I was going back to the gym, slowly getting back in there, and then I got injured again. Again, not from working out. It was just there's a pothole, my foot got stuck in there, and I sprained my ankle. So I'm like, oh heck no. So I literally, like, every single day I was doing my exercise, every single exercise, and I was pushing myself. It was uncomfortable, but I kept pushing myself about 3, 4 times a day. I was just very persistent. And my athletic therapist was like, "You're doing really well. Like your injury's recovering really fast. You're on track. Like you're good. You're gonna be good to go." And remember, like my foot at that time didn't completely recover because I didn't do all the necessary recovery exercises from the first injury. So I was dealing with both, but I was still recovering on time and still doing everything I was supposed to be doing. And alhamdulillah, I was able to run after that. I started doing plyometrics after that. I was weightlifting after that, squatting heavy weight. Like I was getting there. And that's because you just have to kind of push through. And sometimes it feels like you're never going to be able to get there. But to be honest, if you just take it one day at a time, you say, okay, I need to do these things. You're just super focused, muscle mind connection, really important. You can't just, half do things, then you'll get there. And it's just a matter of time. And I mean, a lot of athletes will tell you that. So that's what I kind of kept in my head.
Very great point. So now that we are in the times where we're prone to get sick and stuff, what did that teach you, and what did that teach you in times like now, to be safe, to watch out and all that stuff?
So again, I got sick several times when I was in university, so I was already paranoid. So when people were like, oh, like, masks don't do anything, and people are paranoid, just the flu, I was like, nope, not risking it. And even though I went to Spain, I like wore the mask, had hand sanitizer on me 24/7, try to keep a healthy distance from anyone that was like sick. And alhamdulillah, we're good to go. But I think in times like this, it's first of all, it's really important to really make sure you're taking care of your nutritional health, because if you do get it, you want your body to be prepared. So that's something my husband and I are taking very seriously. And that's something that I've learned in the past is nutrition makes a huge, huge difference. There were times when I was sleeping, 45 minutes to 3 hours, and I was overtraining and I was overworking. And I mean, I was having a blast, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't allowing my body to recover. And now recovery is the most important thing for me, like the most important thing. I also have like a Theragun, the
yeah.
The percussive therapy gun. And so I use that 3 times a day. I'm just like at it. Like I don't miss a day now. And I invest in my recovery and in my health first and foremost. And then I worry about everything else. I don't really care about numbers. I don't really care about, what it says on the scale. I'm more focused on just making sure that I'm taking care of my body, because if you do get injured, if you do get sick, you want to make sure your body's prepared. Like, you don't want to be already, barely healthy, barely making it, right? They say with the coronavirus, if you have underlying conditions, you're more likely to get a bigger hit. Now, that's not for everybody. Some people still got hit even though they were really healthy, but you want to make sure you're preparing yourself to the best of your abilities. So taking vitamin C, making sure you're eating properly, proper nutrients, and not just macronutrients, but micronutrients as well. I think that's overlooked, fiber, all of that. You want to make sure that you're taking care of your body, preparing it. And so, God forbid that you do eventually get it, because they're saying, a vast majority of people are going to get it, that you're in the best state to accept that. I mean, not accept it, you don't want to reject it, but best state in terms of your body and your health to get it. But
Actually,
obviously,
oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, obviously,
Yeah.
stay away. Try to avoid going out if you can, and if you do, make sure that you keep your distance and everything that they've been talking about.
Yeah, so actually a really good point. I'm very big on sleep because I did, like, I'm under a lot of stress. So I've been, like, feeling sick or coughing, and my mom, like, there's no fever, all that stuff. But sleep is also very overlooked, and it's harder than before now because, like, there's so much to do for a lot of people. But nutrition is a good point, and sleep is a very important point.
Yeah.
And then the mindset is a very important point. And so when it comes to resilience, especially during coronavirus time and any epidemic, what is the number one thing that you would like to tell our audience to work on for their fitness journey, for their work lifestyle, whatever difficulties they're going through?
I think the first thing is to get yourself in a good mindset, a healthy mindset. I think being mentally just in a good place, that will do wonders. And I think knowing what works for you, what puts you in that good mental space is very important. For me, as you know, like I'm an outdoor person. Like, I need to be outdoors I can't be home.
Me
I
too.
don't like being home. And the days when I was like sleeping 45 minutes to 3 hours a day is because I was out all the time. I was out. I was working. I was, like, just, I would do everything outside. Even when I was working on my, on Yaz Fit on my laptop, it was always outside. It couldn't be indoors. When I would study, it would be outside. So I was so used to that. And so now, like, I'm on my balcony. I come outside every single day. Even if I wake up late, even if whatever, I come outside, I read a little bit. I read something that is, like some self-help books. What the most successful people do before breakfast is my favorite. But I'm already done with that. I finished so many books just like coming out every morning. I'm actually reading right now. I'm reading The Sealed Nectar for the second time. So a lot of books I read multiple times just to make sure that if I miss something, and I jot down notes on the side. But basically, I come and sit outside. I drink some water or some tea, some coffee, and just put myself in a good mental space before I start my day. And that has helped tremendously. Like, the days that I feel rushed and I'm like, okay, I need to finish work and I need to do this and I need to do that, and I don't have anything, I don't have any time to myself, I always feel down. And every day that I come outside, I, get to enjoy the sun, alhamdulillah, I always feel more productive. I always feel like I'm ready to tackle the day. It doesn't feel like I'm under quarantine. It just feels like, okay, we're indoors, but we're making the most out of it. And, if you can go outside, obviously making sure that there's like nobody there. But if you can go outside, keeping social distance and just go out for a walk or go for, like if you have a bike, cycle around. When I went in Spain and we cycled around, oh my God, that was the best. Like, I can't even explain to you. But anyway, some outdoor activities while maintaining social distancing. Okay, guys, like, I need to emphasize that because people are like going to the parks, but there are other people. I'm like, no, don't do that. But I think the most important thing, it starts with mental health. And then after that, you can focus on your physical health and everything else.
Yeah, and I actually also went back to reading. I read reading like business related books and self-development, so like coaching and how to start a business, or like business idea and like the calling. But it's
Can you
definitely
send me some of those books?
Yeah. And you
I love them, like.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. See, guys, how we're friends. We know each other really well. But no, for real. So you are so right about like mental health and like taking care, and like, because I'm under pressure right now, I'm like losing my sanity. So I'm going back to like, okay, keep calm, write things down, art, color, like art therapy is helping for me. And then the outdoors, yes. So tell us about your trip, because I actually didn't, I just saw you on your Instagram. So I'm like, wait, what? When did she go?
So I went to Spain. It was the end of February to, I think it was like March 9th, March 8th, something like that. And so it was fairly recent. It was last month, but it was one heck of a challenge. So it was with Islamic Relief, and we were raising funds for Water for Life. So for 2,000, over 2,000 people in Mali, and to have access to clean water. And we were trying to raise as many funds as possible. Our goal was $25,000. And we all went, and it was just one of the most life-changing experiences, to be honest. I highly recommend it for anybody and everybody that could do it. Obviously, after, the whole coronavirus calms down. My husband couldn't join me at the time because he's Canadian. He had to stay here until he got his travel authorization. But I went and I met amazing people. We still talk on a regular basis, and we actually do Zoom. They have like a Zoom session every day, and everyone can just kind of join in and join out whenever they want. And we just built really strong relationships because we had to help each other in ways. I think it wasn't just like physical. Like we all thought it was a physical challenge, and it was, but it was also mental, emotional, spiritual. It was challenging on every single level. And we started off every day. I think we got up, about Fajr, and then we all met up around 8, had breakfast, and then we were out. We would cycle about 55 kilometers a day. And listen, I hadn't cycled in like like 5 years at least. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be really challenging. I hadn't gone on a bike in legit like 5 years. I'm like, okay, I hope I can, I'll be fine. And I cycled a little bit, like to train, indoor spinning classes or whatever. And I did like 2 sessions for like 20 minutes. That's it. And again, I haven't fully recovered from my injuries. So I'm like, this is gonna be interesting. The same day that I was supposed to fly out, I go to urgent care and I like strained my neck.
You always get sick. It's just
I
interesting to
always get, I'm
watch.
telling you, man. I was at work. Like, it was just so random. I'm just like, Lord, what is going on? I was at work, just minding my business. And I just like get up and I stretch and I just strain my neck. And it was like a level 8 or 9. I'm like, I was
Oh my
in
gosh.
so much pain, couldn't move. It literally took me an hour to get out of the parking lot. My husband had to come pick me up from my desk and like take me to the parking lot. That took an hour. And then he took me to urgent care. And I was like, yeah, basically, like, I'm gonna have to postpone my flight. And then, I don't know, alhamdulillah, like, we kept waiting. We waited at urgent care for like 3-4 hours. Eventually, we barely made it to the airport. And I get on the flight and I still have a strain, but it was like a 5 out of 10 in terms of pain. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna take it one step at a time. When we eventually get on the bikes, I'm telling, the coordinators, the Islamic relief coordinators, I'm like, hey, I'm just letting you know that there's a pretty high chance that I won't be able to finish. And, this is what's going on with my neck. And I might have to get into the emergency van, because there's a van that follows the whole team. I'm like, just letting you guys know. And he was like, no, just take it easy, just, don't push yourself, take it easy. We're right there with you if you need anything. And if need be, there's a van right there. So I'm like, okay. So I start off really easy. And I'm like, again, good form is very important, like, even especially when you're injured. So I'm keeping like perfect form the entire time. I'm just like, roll those shoulders back, chest out, engage your core. And I'm just like, if, I'm minimizing the amount of, I don't want any other muscle to compensate, right, for my neck and for my shoulder. So I'm just like making sure that my form is just on point. And I'm pushing myself and pushing myself. At that point, the pain had gone down to like a 2, but it kept kind of bouncing back and forth, 2 to 5, 2 to 5. And I think by the end of the day, and again, I had my Theragun. I literally got it for that trip. And I was just making sure that I was, focusing on recovery. Everyone would stay up all night. And I was like, I need to focus on sleep and recovery, sleep and recovery. And the next day, my knee was hurting. Or sorry, that same night, my knee was hurting the first day. And I was like, oh, great. And so I adjusted my seat again. Obviously, make sure that your seat is adjusted. Like you form, you know, making sure that if you're on a bike, your seat is at the proper height, everything's adjusted before you start, right? Because otherwise you're putting yourself in a bad situation. So you always want to make sure that you're preparing yourself for success, you're preparing your body for success. And that's how a lot of people get injured, is they don't really care about form, or they think form is like, it's not that big of a deal. And they kind of go more for heavier weights, improper form, it's all good. For me, form is everything. And if you've ever been a client of mine, you'll know form is everything. I'm so picky about form. I won't let you pass unless your form is like on point. I'm a stickler about it. And because I know, right? I know. And anyway, so my knee started hurting, did everything that I had to do, made sure that, I iced everything that I needed to ice. I made sure Theragun everywhere I needed to be. And then next day was the hardest day, which was all uphill. Like all for 55 kilometers. Okay, we're like 8 hours just cycling, just all uphill. We were literally cycling so fast, and there were people walking beside us that were walking faster. And it was hilarious. But I don't know, man. It was definitely a mental challenge. And I remember thinking, I was thinking about all the spinning classes that I've done in the past. And one thing that kept sticking with me was push, pull, push, pull. So again, it's mind over matter. But mind muscle connection, mind over matter, making sure that you're just focused on what is right in front of you. Obviously you have a bigger goal, but you're focused on what's right in front of you instead of getting overwhelmed with, oh my God, I can't do this or that. And I wiped out the second day, almost fell off a cliff. And like, I still have the injury. And I was just like shedding blood, like literally my entire left side was just shedding blood. And two people were really kind enough to come and help me, and they poured some water. We didn't have, I think, hand sanitizer at the time, like on us, but they poured some water, cleaned it. One guy had bandages, helped me out. And I got right back up, kept going. And then I get a flat tire. And this is all on like the day that we're just going uphill. I was just like, all right, great. And these two guys and one of my friends I was cycling with, I mean, they're all part of the group. And they come back down, they see me, they come back down, and they, for like a solid 30-40 minutes, just helped me change the tire. And they had a spare, and just like, they did everything. And it honestly, at that point, it clicked that, first of all, we're one ummah, and second of all, we can't do this alone. People keep trying to do everything alone. And I remember at that, like on that trip when I first started, I was like, okay, I need to focus on making sure I do this. And that was just like a turning point for me. And I was like, dude, we're not in this alone, and we can't do it alone. We have to stick together as a group. Like, this is a group activity. And life in general is something that you do as a group, right? You can't cut off ties with everybody, just be isolated and be like, okay, I don't need anybody. We all need each other. And so that was a turning point for me. And I was forever grateful. And they know that. Literally, when we had a little get together at the end where everybody kind of said, what they were grateful for and what they've learned from the challenge. And I just started crying. Like, I just started tearing up. I'm like, you guys. And I was just like, I was forever grateful for them. There's also another person that came, and this is the toughest day, right? Everybody is struggling. Some people had to get off their bikes because the hill was so steep and they just couldn't push through. And this guy went all the way up, would check how difficult it was, come back down, and then hype everyone up. I'm like, bro, I don't know how you're doing it, but I was really grateful for him because he was just pushing everybody. He was getting us excited. So again, it's a group effort. So that's the main thing I think that I've learned, that I've taken away from that trip. And obviously, we had amazing views, and learning more about Islamic history in Spain. I think we all felt closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we felt closer as an ummah. And so those are bonds I think we would never lose.
That's actually a very good segue and like a summary of this whole conversation. Number one, I miss my bike. I'm going to get back into it as well. And number two, how to be resilient in times like now. Like you said, mindset, so mind over body, always. Number two, exactly what you said. I wrote it down before this. Surround yourself with the right people. Like, you cannot be isolated alone, because then you're going to go mental sanity, lose it. So surround yourself with the right people, and maybe you can go back and reconnect with old friends. Like Jasmine and I are reconnecting right now because we're both like busy. Yeah?
You keep calling me Jasmine, but everyone now knows me as Yaz.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, okay. I know her since like
I know.
a decade ago.
So my whole life I went by Jasmine, but when I started Yaz Fit, I just started going by Yaz. After MSA, everyone's calling me Yasmin. I just went by Yaz. So yeah, so for people who are like
Yasmin. We're gonna say Yasmin.
No. I honestly I prefer Yaz or Jasmine.
Okay, Yaz.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then number 3 is nutrition, and number 4 is the recovery time. Make sure you do that. And like for me, it's a sleeping time. Make sure you're sleeping, because especially during college, like I don't know how you did it, and now I'm like, okay, the girl I used to be, and the girl that, like, for example, like, I knew you since college times, and you were like the one of those college students who pushed herself to the limit, and I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know how she's doing it. I need that sleep.
But you are doing it.
I am doing it, but it's hard to like not sleep. Like I need to sleep. Some people just don't sleep. I'm like, I can't. That's not me. Yeah. So recovery time, she learned it really well, and then I learned that sleeping is really well. So these two are needed: sleep and recovery. And then staying active. So whatever your active form is, like for me now, it's swimming outdoors, what have you, bikes, but now the pools are kind of on a pause. So we're all these swimmers in the house are coming up with ideas just to have fun with it. And then the lessons that I feel like I learned from our friendship and our connection is, number 1, stay in connection no matter what happens, right? Just like the trip, there's always ups and downs in any relationship. And that's what makes our friendship so unique. Like we were able to stay resilient on our relationship. No, like it's a blessing. I'm so blessed.
It is.
Yeah. So resilience in relationships and like, work, everything that we do in life. And then make time for your family, for yourself. And then, of course, don't forget the community. Is there anything else that I should have asked you, mentioned, that I didn't perhaps?
Well, I just want to know what how you've been kind of keeping up with COVID-19, coronavirus, and staying indoors, quarantine. What are some of your tips?
Sure, yes. Definitely writing lots of things down. Like if you come in my office right now, there's paper. I'm just writing because that keeps me grounded. Because I like to vent. Like, you know how much I'm a venter.
Yeah. I think we all like yesterday I wrote 4 pages for my husband. Just literally venting everything, all my ideas. So yeah, no, I think writing is super important. But
it's actually, so I learned it again the hard way, because that has happened between you and me. More like I vented way too much, and then like I was too negative. You're like, okay, well, I'm not ready for this right now. So like we had to take a little pause from each other, and then come back again. So that has happened to me recently with another friend, where I didn't mean to become too much for her, but like I did become too much. So like there's a pause, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So it kind of like put me back into that sensitivity, emotional downhill. So then I went back to journal writing. Even if I write things down like on paper, I toss in trash. Let the pressure.
Recycling.
Yeah, like let the pressure. No, I have like old paper. Like see.
I know, I'm kidding.
But like just recycle. Yeah. So writing, drawing, not drawing, but like coloring if I can. Doing the podcast, talking, and trying to stay active as much as I can. It's not the same, which is making it like really harder. Because like my situation is a bit interesting, where like I'm a trainer, but then I got into swimming, and now like swimming is on a pause again. It's like adjusting, and
it's a lot of adjustments, and I think people underestimate that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my tips. Number 1, sleep. Find a way to cope your way, whether it's writing, whatever, like take a deep breath in, talking to close friends, staying connected with close friends. Maybe you can reconnect with your family. I feel like a lot of us are disconnected from our family members because we're so busy. So it's a great way to like reconnect with them. So inshallah, the barakah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can re-enter our lives. But yeah, hope this helps.
It does, honestly. I think it's important to also know that we're all in it together,
Yeah, and stay hydrated.
So yeah, for real. Woo!
Oh my gosh, she is the queen of the water bottles, you guys. If you're watching this video, she's the queen of like gallons of water.
Yeah, I don't know if the queen of gallons of water, but yeah, I definitely used to go to class with a gallon of water. I was like, what? I literally almost went to a wedding with a gallon of water, but then I left it in the car. During Ramadan, I think that's important. to literally drink a gallon of water. That's like my biggest tip for Ramadan. Drink a gallon of water before you go to sleep. But I think it's important to know that we're all in it together, that, we're all like, it's not easy for anybody, even if we're all, obviously we're trying to have fun, we're trying to make it, make the best of it, but we're all having our down moments too. And I've noticed that just speaking to everybody that it's not easy. There's a huge adjustment, right? We're all used to going outside and we're used to having our freedom and all that. And now it's like we're forced to stay indoors, and obviously for our safety, for the safety of others. But knowing that it's not just you, that's everybody, I feel like for me has been really helpful, because I'm like, it's not happening to me, it's happening to all of us. And so we need to be there for each other. And like you said, reconnecting with family members and friends and, seeing what they're up to, I feel like that's a huge blessing, and making sure that you keep up with people that maybe in areas like New York or, Seattle or Italy, like if you have family members in those areas, like I have family members in Spain, I have family members in New York and friends in New York. And I found out that one of my friends, her whole family has tested positive. And so I think reaching out to people and saying like, hey, are you okay? How's everything going? Because a lot of people aren't gonna be like, hey, I have it. They're gonna pretend like everything's okay. But then when you actually talk to them on a deeper level, they actually tell you kind of what's going on. And so feeling like there's someone asking about them, I think is really important, because I've had that happen to me, alhamdulillah, where last year when I wasn't feeling, my best, and people reaching out to me and saying, hey, for example, I haven't seen you on social media in a while, or, we haven't spoken in a while. Is everything okay? How are you doing? How's Canada? How's whatever? And it was nice to know that like people were still like, they still care. They still wanted what's best for you, but sometimes you just need a reminder. So I think that's like right now, if you can, and you have the time, I mean, make the time really, but at least try to reach out to one person a day, or every other day or something.
Yes, thank you so much for the great reminders and for our wonderful, amazing friendship, and let's stay connected even more.
Yeah,
no matter what happens, because
sure.
we're all trying to stay grounded and manage our time.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so before we leave, make sure to tag this episode and follow Yaz Fit PT, right?
Yeah.
It's Yaz Fit PT. And then Ola at Be Fit for Akhira. Tag us, tell us your biggest takeaway, and share with us like how you're surviving this and your workouts and anything on your mind. Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Assalamu
alaikum.
Thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe today and leave a 5-star review. You can also screenshot and share this episode with a family or a friend. Be strong, be fit for Akhirah.